In Last Night in Soho, Thomasin McKenzie plays Eloise, a young, aspiring fashion designer who moves from her rural home in England to the big city of London to study at the London College of Fashion. When she comes to the big city, it's not all she thought it would be, and she starts to retreat into a dream world, the London of the 60s. And in this dream world, she meets the dazzling wannabe singer Sandy, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. But these glamorous dreams are not all that they seem to be, and then the cracks start to show and the story begins.
The bartender said I should get to know the handsome fella standing next to Cilla Black.
You should. And you are?
The next, Cilla Black.
Are you now?
I had had the idea for the story for a number of years, and then when I first said out loud that I wanted to make the movie to Naira, which I think was about in 2012, because I was busy at that point even making another film, I said, what I'd really like to do is research it, because there's the idea you have with the story, which is based on your knowledge of the 60s and your perception of the 60s, but I thought it would be really vital to really research the decade and research every facet of the story. So Lucy Pardee, who is a brilliant researcher and casting director, BAFTA award-winning casting director, in fact, that we'd worked with before on Attack the Block, she started researching the period, and I gave her different subjects that I wanted to, and she was able to talk to people who were really there from all walks of life. And really the research that came out of that, which was done over a number of years, I feel, is like the size of a phone book, and you could write 100 stories from it. And it's incredibly sobering reading to sort of read some first-hand accounts of like the much darker side of the area. You know, it was incredibly fascinating and moving and disturbing to do all of this research. But it was a really important thing to do, and there's only really a couple of films that I've done where I felt the need to do research, all very different movies. Like strangely, Hot Fuzz was very informed by a lot of research about the real police. You wouldn't necessarily think that from the finished film, but it's true. Baby Driver, was also, I managed to talk to a lot of, kind of ex-criminals and ex-convicts. So with this, obviously, the Soho itself is so steeped in history, it was like, even the enormous tome of research that we have is only 1% of these stories within. And it in a similar way to the movie, it just kind of makes you think, because you think of the sort of the people that have lived there, and the people who should still be alive that aren't, or the people that didn't have the careers or the lives that they hoped, or the kind of the broken dreams and the sort of the terrible wrong turns. And it's all the things that you kind of aware of, but reading real accounts about it is incredibly sobering.